What the hell are you doing? Parking in my spot.
What?
I said, what do you think you're doing parking in my spot?
We don't have assigned parking. I get here first, I park where I want to.
I park in that place every day, and you know it. You think because I get here a couple minutes late, you can take my place?
It's not your place. First come, first serve. If you want that spot, get here first.
Oh, that's where you want it, huh? You want to see who can get to work earlier. That's pretty lame.
Bob, what's going on?
He took my parking place.
Go ahead and take off, Jack. Bob, parking places in the employee lot are not assigned. I know you usually get here early to get that spot, but anybody can park there if they're here first.
Well, that's news to me.
The driver we just saw has been with his current employer for several years. He has a spotless driving record and usually gets along well with his coworkers. That's why his supervisor took special notice when he observed Bob arguing with another driver. As a supervisor, you have a key role in identifying a driver with an alcohol or substance abuse problem, because it is what you observe personally that triggers a reasonable suspicion test. Here's what the regulation says. The employer's determination that reasonable suspicion exists must be based on specific, contemporaneous, articulable observations concerning the appearance, behavior, speech, or body odors of the driver. Let's break this down. Reasonable suspicion must be based on behaviors or attributes you can see, hear, or smell. These behaviors must be happening as you observe them. You can't send a driver in for a reasonable suspicion test based on what someone else has observed and reported to you, or based on a gut feeling you have about a driver. You have to observe the behavior personally, and you have to be able to describe that behavior to others if necessary. Alcohol and drug professionals have studied the behaviors that may indicate an individual is abusing alcohol or using controlled substances, such as marijuana, cocaine, opiates, amphetamines, or phencyclidine.
Reasonable suspicion is a question that comes up frequently with supervisors. I feel that the key point about it is to really know the people that you're supervising and to know them on a personal level, because what you're really looking for is a deviation from what is normal for that person. And so being able to interact with them on a daily basis and kind of know about their interests and their children and what's going on in their life, so that when changes do occur, you're able to kind of compare it to something.
Some of the things that would clue me into suspicious behavior would be definitely a strong sense of, a smell of alcohol, glassy eyes, red bloodshot eyes maybe, looking very, very worn out, tired. Definitely a change of behavior would definitely be, where he is acting a certain way and never acted that way before. That would definitely be a sign.
Say a person comes in and they are very short-tempered, being aggressive, when that's not the employee's usual behavior, but a cluster of behaviors that are observable: excessive thirst, glassy-eyed, essence, the smell of leftover alcohol, the smell of leftover marijuana, a change in behavior that is not typical of this employee.
As a supervisor, you should be aware of changes in appearance, changes in maybe a driver's behavior, obvious things as maybe an odor. Those should be some examples or tips that would ask some questions if maybe a driver is under the influence of something.
There's quite a few different observations that we train our supervisors on, and each of our supervisors are given a card so that they can refer to that at a moment's notice.
As a supervisor, you must observe your drivers with these behaviors and attributes in mind. Telling a driver that he or she must report for a reasonable suspicion alcohol or drug test is not easy. Perhaps it's one of the most difficult things you'll ever have to do as a supervisor. But it is important to confront the driver for the safety of the driving public, the reputation and future of your business, and for the health and safety of the driver. Professionals in the field of substance abuse counseling have developed some effective techniques for approaching the subject of alcohol and drug abuse.
When a supervisor is getting to the point that they're really, wanting to sit an employee down and talk with them specifically about their performance, I think they need to realize that that person's scared and they're in denial. So they may tell stories and they may lie because they're feeling threatened. And also the nature of drug abuse and addiction really is denial. It's kind of like having cataracts. They don't really know they have the problem. They know their boss is a jerk. They know their wife complains too much. They know they've got these other problems, but they don't see their drinking as contributing.
Well, for employers to make a successful contact with an employee that they have suspicions of using and coming to the employment site under the influence would be to approach the employee and say, "Would you mind stepping into my office for a few minutes? There's something I would like to talk to you about." And getting the employee into a safe situation where the employee is not embarrassed. So that's the first step.
Let's see how our supervisor handles the difficult job of confronting Bob.
Bob, let's go to my office.
Not now. I got to get a load to Memphis.
I'll assign your load to another driver. I need to talk to you in my office, in private. It's important, Bob.
Great. This is just what I need.
The supervisor has serious concerns about this driver's fitness to drive, so he's done the right thing by removing Bob from all safety-sensitive functions. And Bob has the right to have this issue discussed in a confidential setting, so the supervisor has appropriately suggested moving the conversation to a private setting.
Bob, I've noticed over the last couple of weeks that your performance has been slipping. You've been late to work, you've been late on your deliveries, and your appearance isn't nearly as professional as it was when you first started working here.
Hey, I get the job done, don't I?
You used to get along with everybody. But this morning I saw you arguing with Jack over parking places of all things.
I park in that spot every day. Now he thinks it's his spot.
Bob, this is not about parking. From what I've seen, I have no choice but to send you in for a reasonable suspicion test.
What are you trying to say? That I'm drunk or on drugs?
I don't know. But the regulations require me to send you in for testing when I make observations that lead me to reasonable suspicion. Now, you can refuse to take the test, but if you do, it's the same as testing positive.
I'll take your damn test.
Good. I'll have Wilson drive you over to the test facility. I don't want you driving there yourself. Wait here, I'll make the arrangements.
The supervisor had been observing Bob's changed behavior for some time, so he knew that Bob had been late arriving for work and late with deliveries. The argument that he observed this morning confirmed for him that it was time to act. During their conversation in the office, he mentioned his observations so that the driver knows the specific reasons that the test is being ordered. Finally, the supervisor arranged for another employee to drive Bob to the testing facility. The supervisor faced the toughest part of this process by confronting the driver, but his work is not complete. Every company must have a systematic approach to documenting situations where reasonable suspicion testing is required. This documentation should include the names of the individuals involved, the appearance, behavior, or speech patterns that triggered the test, and the actions taken by the supervisor. This documentation is required for both alcohol tests and controlled substances tests. It must be completed within 24 hours of the observed behavior or before the test results are released, whichever is earlier. Also, the supervisor or company official who made the observations must sign the documentation. Let's look at another situation where there's no question about the need for a test.
Carol, can you come to my office?
I'm just on my way to Chicago. How about I stop by your office tomorrow morning?
Afraid that won't work. I just saw you take a drink from that bottle in your pocket. I can't let you get out on the road.
Oh, hell!
Let's go to my office. I've got to send you for a reasonable suspicion alcohol test because I saw you taking a drink while on duty.
I'm not drunk. I had one sip. So give me your damn test here and now. I gotta hit the road.
I can't give you the test. It has to be done at the testing facility. And it's not safe to let you drive there, Carol. I'll have Mary drive you over.
Look, Don, I've been having some problems at home, and maybe I have a little drinking problem. Okay, I admit it. Maybe you could put me in touch with our employee assistance program.
The program is there to help you. But admitting you have a problem doesn't mean you don't have to take the test. I'll call the test facility and tell them that you're on your way.
Let's review this supervisor's performance. He personally saw the driver take a drink, direct observable behavior. He had no choice but to confront the driver. He immediately removed the driver from all safety-sensitive functions and met with her in a private setting to discuss the next steps. Some companies have a policy within the regulations that allows employees to admit to an alcohol or substance abuse problem and seek help. However, making such an admission as Carol did does not allow her to escape the reasonable suspicion test. If you observe behavior that rises to the level of reasonable suspicion, you must refer the driver for testing, even if she admits to a problem when confronted. Also note that because the driver in this example is female, the supervisor arranged for another female employee to drive Carol to the testing facility. Best practices indicate that a same-sex person drive when an employee is ordered to undergo a reasonable suspicion test to avoid any additional unwanted problems for the supervisor. Sometimes the behaviors are more subtle than the ones we've observed so far. Let's watch another driver.
Boy, I didn't think I was going to get here, but I made it. The last 100 miles just flew by. I thought there was going to be a lot of traffic, right? And then the road just opened up like Moses in the Red Sea. The water's parted, you know? I mean, it's like, I think I'd get stuck behind this minivan or a school bus, and then they just pull off the road. I mean, it was like perfect, you know?
Bruce,
Yeah.
will you come into my office?
Yeah, right away, as soon as I finish this paperwork. It was like it's like I owned the road, right? I mean, I wish it was this way all the time.
Bruce, my office?
Right away. All right, here you go.
Bruce, how long has it been since you slept?
Oh, I don't know. Be nice to get home and get some sleep. That last 100 miles was something. You know, fortunately, there wasn't a lot of traffic. It just kind of opened up for me. You know, it was like I was meant to get here on time, you know?
Bruce, I've been watching you today. You're not acting like yourself. Do you feel all right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little tired, but otherwise never better.
I don't like doing this, Bruce, but I'm going to send you for a reasonable suspicion drug and alcohol test.
Why? Because I'm tired?
Your behavior is different than usual. You seem agitated, like you can't sit still, like you're hyper. I don't know what's going on, but I know I have to send you for the test.
You can't make me go.
Right. I can't make you take the test. But refusing to go for the test has the same consequence as having a positive result.
Okay. I'll take the test. Just tell me where to go.
I'll have Tom take you over there right now. Wait here while I set it up.
In this instance, the supervisor observed behavior that was inconsistent with the past behavior of this driver. When the driver resisted taking the test, the supervisor calmly and firmly explained the observations that led to her decision. The purpose of reasonable suspicion testing is to identify drivers who are abusing alcohol or using controlled substances and get them off the road. At the same time, under the regulations, testing cannot be arbitrary. To order a test, you as a supervisor must be able to explain your reasons. Your goal should be to strike a balance between protecting the driving public and your company and protecting the privacy of your drivers. This is not an easy balance to strike, but remember, at any given time, it's estimated that 2 to 3% of the drivers on the road are driving under the influence. That's a frightening thought. Among professional drivers in the transportation industry, the numbers are much, much lower. But even one drunk or impaired driver is too many. That's why your role in reasonable suspicion testing is so important.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, have a seat. I understand that your drug test came back negative.
Yeah, that's right. It turns out that 2 of my prescriptions were interacting with some pretty serious side effects. My doc changed the prescriptions, and now I'm doing a lot better.
Glad to hear it. Explains why you were having problems.
Yeah, that's right. Now I'm doing fine, but before, I mean, I was jumpy, wasn't getting much sleep, but everything's okay now.
So Doc says it's okay for you to drive?
Driving's no problem.
That's good news. We can have you back on the road tomorrow. You know, it wasn't easy to send you in there for testing, but we have to follow the regs.
Yeah, I know.
Not all reasonable suspicion testing has such a favorable outcome. But the important thing is that impaired drivers be identified and taken off the road. This protects the public and may direct impaired drivers to get the help they need. By following the regulations, you not only obey the law, you might just save someone's life.